Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex has a brand new graphic novel coming out from Marvel and Abrams Books, Fantastic Four Full Circle. It comes out September 6th. It's a rainy night in Manhattan, and not a creature is stirring except for the Thing, Ben Grimm. When an intruder suddenly appears inside the Baxter Building, the Fantastic Four find themselves surrounded by a swarm of invading parasites. These carrion creatures, composed of negative energy, come to Earth using a human host as a delivery system. But for what purpose? And who is behind this untimely invasion? The Fantastic Four have no choice but to journey to the Negative Zone, an alien universe comprised entirely of antimatter, risking not just their own lives, but the fate of the cosmos. Fantastic Four Full Circle is the first long-form work written and illustrated by acclaimed artist Alex Ross, who revisits a classic Lee Kirby story from the 60s and introduces the storyline for a new generation of readers. Bold, vivid colors, his trademark visual storytelling, Ross takes Marvel's first team of superheroes to places only he can illustrate. The book also features a special poster jacket with the front flap unfolding to reveal an all-new fully painted origin story of the Fantastic Four. Again, Fantastic Four Full Circle, out September 6th. For more details, go to AlexRossArt.com. Out now from DC Comics, it's Dead Man Tells the Spooky Tales. Franco of Superman Adventures, Aw Yeah Comics, and Tiny Titans fame presents 15 tales narrated by Deadman himself, Boston Brand, that will shock and delight horror fans of all ages. 15 stories created by Franco and 15 amazing artists, presenting bold art and great storytelling. This is a great present for the fall and holiday seasons to young readers or to share with your children at nighttime story time. The book is out now from DC Comics. It's Dead Man Tells the Spooky Tales. Pick up your copy online or your favorite comic store today. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. It's time for another Bendis tape. So Michael Bendis is here. Good to see you, man.
Hey.
And joining us for the first time, Brian's new collaborator on The Ones, great new Dark Horse comic. It's Jacob Edgar. Welcome, Jacob.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good Jacob, what time is it there?
Here it is 1:30 in the morning.
All right.
But I told John I had a little power nap, so I'm ready to go.
All right, good. Well, then you are,
power nap too.
You are spending a launch day well. Just ride that anxiety all the way. Stay up, find things to do. That's what you do.
Yeah, my wife insisted that I stay up and be on this. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's my alarm to say it's time to go on your show.
There you go. Absolutely. Here's the cover. Blocking Brian.
Yeah.
Brian Bendis to block, like Hollywood Squares.
Again, I'd much rather people look at Jacob's work than my melting candle of a face. So,
Jacob, I love your art. It looks great, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
truly. Absolutely, man. And we'll look at some of the interior in a second. But yeah. So first of all, Jacob, forgive me. Give me your bibliography prior to The Ones.
Let's see. I've done a lot of little gigs for Dynamite. I drew a mini series there for the Army of Darkness. I've worked on Red Sonja. I did a Moneypenny one shot. I was part of the original Batman audio adventure special that's tied to the HBO Max show.
Yeah,
I drew a Riddler story for the launch of that comic book. So I've popped around a little bit.
That's
awesome, Brian. How did you decide for Jacob for this book?
Well, we all actually love this story because it's like there's so little goodness that comes out of the internet or Twitter, particularly this week, and we all cling to the gentle reasons we stay on social media, and this would be one of them. Is a mutual fan of both of ours. How do you pronounce his name? Jacob?
I think it's Tanvir. I hope that's right.
Tanvir. Yeah, I don't want to mistake it because I revere him a great deal. And he a couple years ago, literally on Twitter, just gently campaigned for me to really look at Jacob's work. And I had seen Jacob's work, and I particularly liked his I don't want to call them faux Batman Sunday strips, but like they're Batman strips in the Sunday funnies format that I really liked a lot. And I just really liked the way I was being introduced to his work. It was like I was being fan casted in the best way. And there was something about the way it was being said that I just took it very seriously. I mean, you know, people say shit to us all the time about a million different things online. And this one just was very genuine, and I just worded it like, he goes, I really think you would write well for him, like is how it was worded. And I was like, oh, that's, no one ever says that. Let me take a look at this. And I agreed, and then was also, but that equal parts like, oh yeah, I really like this, and oh, how would I write for this? Like, oh, this is, you know, there's things here that I'm not doing in my work, and that's interesting. I even wanted to call the guy who put us together and go, what exactly, like, but I didn't do that. I went looking for it for myself, and then around the same time, and again, a lot conflates in my head, Jacob. So if any of this is calendar wrong, I apologize.
Yeah,
but
no.
My memory is that just as the pandemic hit, we were like deciding how to handle this, and then I got offered to do a short story in that Metal Hurlant redo they did in France, and my friend Matt Fraction was in it. A bunch of us were like doing 8-page Metal Hurlant stories, which in itself was a really big deal to me to like be included in the relaunch of that title that meant so much to me. And at the same time, I was like, oh, short story. That's how you start a collaboration. Not with, hey, let's go in and try 200 pages, see if we mess it up or not. It's let's do a little thing and see if it works. And I flashed back to literally Oming, and I did a short story before we started Powers. A little crime story we did in Negative Burn. It's always like an anthology bit, you know, so it followed suit to, and it is what we teach our students. I teach at Portland State, like, don't start with a big giant epic, just do a little short and see if you can handle it. And so we had, it was great. Like a paying gig for Jacob. And also we can see if this works. Right. And if we know each other, and anything like that. It was a breeze. It was absolutely lovely. And Jacob, do you have those files, by the way, of the?
Yeah, I have. Well, I think I have the whole story, and I have a copy of the book. It's all in my office that I can't get to for fear of waking up the babies.
No, don't wake up those babies. But I do want to reprint that story on Substack. I think we should post it on Substack this week. And
yeah, I definitely have the black and white. The color, I'm not positive if I have or not.
All right, I'll look, and I'll ask the Metal Hurlant people. We can grab it and put it on. I don't think it matters at this point. But
yeah.
So they put us in the Metal Hurlant, and then we had a little short, and it was proof that I do like how it looks when we work together. And while that was going on, we started pitching to each other. We started talking about like things that we would do. And I had, as you know, we've talked about it in the past, and we're dealing with it on my Substack, that I have this like list of things that I created or started to create, ideas, concepts, characters that I've been toying with over the last couple of years. And when I saw Jacob's work, the one that popped to me was the ones. Like, I wanted to see the ones drawn just like this. And boy, does he think this is a good idea too. And I told him, like, there's a comedy concept, but there's also a higher thematic concept behind it. And I hit him with both. And he said yes. And I think there was something else I pitched you, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
Like
I
we
guess I
took to the
should
ones
say,
right
but I
away.
think there were two main things we were looking at, and I was more drawn to like the concept of the ones really grabbed me. I wanted to see that one happen.
And I was thrilled because it was the one that was I had a couple that were really eating at me. Like I couldn't let their mind worming on me, and I couldn't stop. So I was thrilled that he jumped on this so we could dive in head first and really see if it was a thing. And I had been slow cooking this one for years. Like this idea has been in my head for a while. So I had already flushed out the dumb versions and was getting to the good stuff. So I was really happy about that. And also I felt because this is a new, when it's a new collaboration, I want to show off for Jacob. I want to make it worth his while. I want to dazzle, him creatively. And so we dove in those first few pages and was like, oh yeah, that's why you make comics. That's everything you want. So we were off to the races very quickly.
Cool. Alex Chung.
At least in my mind. I don't know what Jacob might have a different opinion from his baby infested house, but
Hey,
So
Alex.
Alex is sorry that he missed the debut at Metal Hurlant. So hopefully Brian and Jacob get the permission to put it in Brian's Substack. That'd be great.
Yeah, but let me see if I can put it online. It came out in literally the dead winter of the pandemic, like in some of the darkest days is my memory of it. And also like it wasn't clear what the project, like I thought it was being released in America, and I don't know if it was. Like
I don't think it ever made it over here. No.
Yeah, and
I
it's got a lot
know
of cool stuff in it. Matt's
Yeah.
piece is wonderful, and so I definitely recommend it. But yeah, it's it's out there somewhere. I got one.
Well, already some comments from people that have had a chance to read.
Hello, Alex and Zach. There's some of our Talmor. This of some of my favorite people. Hello, William.
Absolutely. William says he finished issue 1 a bit ago. The end of issue page flip. Chef's kiss. So excited to see the next issue. Yeah, you guys were kind enough to send me the second issue. And honestly, I'm glad you mentioned Mike Oming, Brian, because I mean, it's another great Jacob. You've got a great fun style that obviously fits the comedy, but also it's a good surprise in terms of the heavy part of this story. I don't if you guys want to give the elevator pitch, if people haven't picked up issue 1 of the ones, give us the elevator pitch.
I'm absolutely delighted by how many stories I've been told in my life that involve the chosen one, and how many of them for my generation are not good stories. And I'm talking about Eddie Murphy's The Golden Child, the Matrix sequels, like there's Jet Li's The One. There's this just parade.
Omen Final Conflict.
Yeah, I could go on and on. I'm just
all the omens.
And I love them, and I'm delighted by them, and it hit me how, like, when someone goes, "You're the one," I'm like, really? Because I heard about 6 other ones, like, just growing up. Like, so how am I the one? What that other one? And I just wanted to, and then it got to like, okay, we can have a lot of fun with all the archetypes and all the genre fun, and just really dive in, and that's the fun part. But then there's also like this overreaching idea about how if everyone thinks they're the one, then no one's the one. And we have a internet where everyone thinks they're the one, right? Or a lot of people either think they're the one or think they're nothing. And usually the people who think they're nothing are closer to being the one than the ones that think they're the one. And I wanted to dive into that as delightfully as we could without like preaching or making anyone feel bad. Also, it's not, there's no religion in the book. It's all about mythology and pop culture. Like, we're not, goofing in anything like that. Just that's not what this is about. But, I was literally, I'd handed in at least issue 1 of the book to Jacob. And, you're like, putting new shit out in the world is hard. We've talked about it on this podcast for years. And even the more fun it is, actually the harder it is to put out in the world, because now you're like trying to be funny is like people will murder you for trying to be funny, and I just wanted metaphysically, not physically, and I you want to do it right, you want to have fun with it, and you know what a comedy nerd I am, and so we wanted to really have fun, and then. But I'm still nervous about it. And then the last Matrix sequel came out, and in it they trip on. You've seen it. It's a funny movie, and I think it's a comedy. I think it's a full blown Matrix dry comedy, right? Because there's things there in that movie that are complete opposite of what they did in the first movie, including like Keanu training for 95 hours a day to be Neo, and in this movie he's just going like this at people with his hands, right? They like that's a joke. That's a joke, right? And so there's a point where like it clearly Trinity is the one. Trinity was always the one, and if they would retell the story today, Trinity should have been the one. And they actually get to it in the story, and they go, "You the one, I'm the one," and I was crying, I was laughing, and I knew that this book is absolutely something me and Jacob should be doing. Because I love this. I love everything about this subject. So
you've got a great fight scene that I want to show from issue 2 that kind of shows everybody in action and calls out names. I hope it's okay.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So we got Novus. I mean, describe some of these characters. And I mean, obviously you can see them better on the cover, but you got Novus.
So we have Novus, who's kind of like the uber power. And we find out she was chosen through an alien prophecy to be beholden of a power that every planet gets. Like she's chosen to protect the Earth from alien invasion. We have Dr. Jamix, who is the great sorcerer of this dimension, but he's only allowed to use his powers for mystical events, and there hasn't been any, so he's not allowed to use his powers. And Thrace, which is kind of like the immortal warrior who's been around for a very long time, who is now an elder statesman and is trying to get over his problematic the way he was raised. And who else we got? We got Chester, who was the golden child, who was the baby who saved us all from apocalypse while he was a baby, and now he's like in his 20s and just trying to figure shit out. So like basically a child star trying to look for that second act. And then there's Dorothy, the demon slayer, and she is and her friend Barb. And Dorothy is a demon slayer who's been the demon slayer of this planet for 25 years, and she's still reluctant to believe in demons. She just doesn't fully believe in them, and that is my tip of the hat to the X-Files and the fact that
Scully,
literally 9 seasons and 2 movies in, was still reluctant to believe in the aliens. And I knew that one day I would have a character that lets me get that joke out of my system. So I'm so glad. I've been holding on to that since literally season 4 of the X-Files. So so that's that. And Wilson, who is the leader, who's in charge of all the prophecies. And we get to find out in issue 2. For those who just read issue 1, we'll find out in issue 2 how Wilson got a hold of the prophecies and what else is in his world, what's coming next.
He's kind of the Giles, I suppose.
The Professor X. There's a lot of different archetypes that any of these you could lean on, but and by really grabbing hold of these archetypes, we've also done everything we can to try something else with them. We're as anti-cliche with the ideas as they possibly can be. We're meeting them. If you've seen a Slayer character, well, you've never seen one at this stage in their lives. Like we're meeting everyone at a different place and a different time, so we can have fun with what would be either shared knowledge that we all have of these genres. Like for people who know a lot of genre stuff, there's a lot of inside fun jokes to have. And if you don't know any of this shit, you can just enjoy them. Like so we're trying to make it work on a couple levels, and I was thrilled with our first response today and the reviews that we got a couple of weeks ago, because I was like, you don't know. Like the worst thing about comedy and writing anything that has a punchline is I've written them about 70 times. By the time you've seen it and he knows this. Like some of these jokes were written dozens of times to the point where I have to go back and reread early issues to make sure, did I write this joke 2 issues ago? Because now in my head, I've written it so much and I'm tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. So guess what's not funny to me at all? Any of this until Jacob gets his hands on it, right? So it was funny when I wrote it. I really want to do it, but once you've polished and crafted and mix the words around, it's you're like, you just have to wait to find out if someone else laughs.
We got a couple questions.
Sure.
Zach wants to know, William sounds like John Cleese in my head. When you guys start working on these characters, do they sometimes start to sound like someone famous? And if so, does that change how you write or draw them? What do you think, Jacob?
William, he might mean Wilson.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so Wilson is definitely inspired by, there's a little bit of Owen Wilson in there. We talked about, I think, Jason Bateman, Jason Sudeikis, but definitely visually, there's a lot of Owen Wilson that I put into it. So,
and there's and when he gets upset, there's a little Lebowski in him. He gets that come on, man. You get
That's cool. And
that's like your opinion, man. Yeah. So to answer the bigger question, though, Zach, I have on occasion, I may have done it a couple of times here. I will throw out like a casting, and even Gene Hackman in 1967. It's your make believe casting. And when you're saying you're not saying draw Gene Hackman exactly. You're giving like an energy note. That's the vibe. That's what the casting is. So it's a nice way to shortcut to a collaborator. I'm thinking this, and I've cast a lot of things, and it always comes back in a different way, right? Like even Wilson is I threw out a bunch of stuff fully with now you give me Wilson, and then I will rewrite towards what you've designed here,
your image. Sure.
But I will say, Zach, it's a little weird because I'm working on Phenomena book 2 with Andre, and 3 days ago I just handed him a big chunk of script, and a brand new character shows up, and I literally said young John Cleese energy. I like, hello, whatever that, John Cleese in Time Bandits energy.
Oh, okay.
Right. Even though that's middle-aged John Cleese, it's the I'm better than all of you, and I'm here, John Cleese. And so I literally just wrote that and gave it to another artist. So it's weird that vibe was in your head.
And then Timur wants to know, is Thrace visually based on Jack Kirby, and his shirt attire in #1 inspired by Grandpa Max from Ben 10?
So the Grandpa Max thing is totally unintentional. I never watched Ben 10, but people pointed out the similarity to me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think the Hawaiian shirt, he only wears it for one scene. I think that might have been Brian's idea. I can't remember, but
yeah, I didn't connect. I see it too, but I did not connect it when I saw it.
The Jack Kirby part of it, yes, there's a little bit of Jack Kirby. There's a little bit of Tim Sale inspiration in Thrace. The wide nose, the big eyebrows. I'm a huge fan of the late great Tim Sale, and obviously Jack Kirby too. So there's some of that in there.
Oh, you're a fan of Kirby?
Yeah, well, that's odd. Yeah. We never knew.
I'm gonna take a bold stance and say yes, I'm a fan of Jack Kirby. And then as it's not a spoiler really to say that there is a time jump that's involved in our story. So at a certain point, Thrace has lost his hair. And once I was drawing him in bald, I really started to think that he looked like Vinnie Jones. So there's also a little bit of Vinnie Jones.
Funny.
Which is great because I actually worked with Vinnie Jones for a while. He was the villain in the original Powers pilot for FX that starred Jason Patrick, that no one's seen, that never saw the light of day, but did get us our show greenlit with other actors. And Vinnie was great. Vinny was a lot of fun to be around. Yeah. Vinny's everything you want him to be. Yeah.
I love everything that Vinny ever does. So yeah, I can appreciate that. That's great. So Jacob, Brian said, obviously he threw out the Golden Child, and All right, now I'm already blanking. The other end of it, like, the
Yeah,
Matrix
no.
4. But yeah, Jacob, like, do you have any favorite kind of chosen one apocalyptic sort of movies or stories that you're thinking of when you're drawing the ones?
Um, I was focused more on just the tone that I was going for more than chosen one story. So the one that I've drawn on is like What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show,
Sure.
and also Galaxy Quest, the underrated comedy sci-fi movie. Because and Brian and I have talked about it that those properties are they're great like satire and send-ups in a lot of ways of certain genres, but they're also really successful at being that genre. Like
Absolutely.
Galaxy Quest is a send-up of Star Trek, but it's also a great sci-fi story on its own.
It
And
was the best sci-fi movie of that year, by the way.
right, yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that's and that's kind of what the ones is as a comic, because yes, it's a comedy, but it's also a really heavy thematic story, and there's a lot of sort of intense themes and a lot of blood and guts. So there's a balance that we were trying to get.
Yeah, we were. What kind of comedy is this? Was a big conversation we had, and
Sure.
going back to like the original Ghostbusters, which is like the quintessential. Remember we were kids when that came out. That movie was scary, and that was the best special effects I had ever seen to that date. Right?
Sure.
So it's the best ghost movie. It's the best, and it's funny as hell, right? And they're having fun with it, but they're not making fun of it. And
right, they believe in the reality that they're setting up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to mention, because anytime someone brings up Galaxy Quest, I saw it in the theater with my old college roommate, and we're great friends, and we love Star Trek. And while we're watching it, literally, like, these two senior citizens get up, these two old men, and like, all right, I've had enough. How about you? And they walked out of the movie, and it's like, oh man, too bad, guys.
No, I those are my favorite. And they don't happen as much anymore. But I remember years ago, I saw The Abyss, James Cameron's The Abyss in the theater, and we were really psyched to see that. That was like an event. The Terminator guy made a big ass movie, and we were going to go see it. And the movie starts, and it's from the first shots, I'm like, oh, we're in for a treat. And I was in front of this bitty old lady. These two old ladies are sitting right in front of us, like with a bun in her hair, and she's like, oh, I didn't know this was an underwater movie. Oh, no, I hate underwater movies. It's so claustrophobic. And like, she went on for like 10 minutes. And I finally, it's just like, oh, man. And I went, lady, shut up. I like did a voice. Shut up. And then she didn't say another word for the rest of the movie. You don't get to do shit like that anymore.
For fear of her life, that the thug Bendis was going to cut her if she dares.
My favorite is like, I've done that in the past, and they turn around, look at me, and go, "Yeah, okay, yeah." If she would have looked, she wouldn't have been scared. But she.
I understand, man. Too goddamn funny. No, honestly, I think you guys are in a great start. Is it going to be the Dark Horse usual, like 5 issues, take a break, and then another 5?
We're four gently oversized issues with some surprises in the back coming with the other issues. In fact, I think we're going to drop one of the backups this weekend just to say thank you to everybody for being so cool today. And so it's 4 big giant chapters with backups, and then hopefully we'll get to do more. But it is set up to do more, so hopefully we can. I would love to. In fact, I literally just handed in a script to Jacob just before we started this, and it's so great to feel as good about a project on the end of it as you do in the beginning. Like, and that's not always the case by no fault of anybody's, but I'm like, oh, I would like to do a bunch of these. Like, this was a great experience. And also, Jacob, boy, we haven't even talked about this, Jacob, but I will say when the books showed up, and it's always like, oh, I know we post these videos of us opening our boxes and go, oh, our book is here. But there's also like as Matt has said on this very podcast, it's published. Your mistakes are now permanent, right? There's some anxiety that comes with your book opening. And when I opened the book, even though of course I had seen the files over and over and over again through PDF and picking at it as it went to print, seeing the colors printed, seeing Diaz's colors, in full print and the choices that he made, boy, these are phenomenal choices. Really exceptional choices that I liked digitally, but I loved in the printed version. Loved. Like, I couldn't believe how much more I loved it. So I'm going to write a note later to talk about that. I should have done that last week, but I was, I went from, oh boy, I hope this is okay, to, oh, this is gorgeous. Yeah. So
he always surprises me. He'll always bring a color that I never would have thought of. And it's always a nice surprise to get his work.
It's great. Absolutely.
I've been spoiled in this regard in the history of comics. In last decades, I've worked with the best that have ever been, and so I am deeply spoiled. So anytime I meet a new voice like this, I have hesitancy because of my past great collaborations in this regard, but it's only because the bar is so high. It's Justin Ponsner high in my heart. So and I miss him, and so when something like this happens, it's double delightful to me that someone is able to just kick ass like this, and just so great. So, all right, what do we got?
Alex says he picked up the ones without reading much about the premise and solicitation, so I was pleasantly surprised reading number one. Very cool.
Thank you, Alex, and I'm hoping a lot of people do that. We were. It's hard to promote like a joke, you know what I mean? Like no, just read it and see if you like it. But it was true with any book. Like, I'd much rather you just read it and let me know what you thought than me telling you about it. So we were hoping to come up with a logo and a look and an energy that's inviting, and then you dive in and check it out. So thank you. That's amazing to hear.
And also a lot of your creator owned too has been not heavy, but I guess, obviously action and drama focus. So, and we all know you're capable of comedy and stuff. So it's nice to see you kind of get back to comedy.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of room at Marvel to have fun with a lot of stuff. And they, I mean, to the point where they even let me do the parodies of the events that we were doing. That was always where I felt I was like, overstepping my bounds a little bit. Was like, you can't do the event and make fun of the event. It's two different people's jobs. But I'm wired that way, and I was so grateful for it. So, and this one, there's no parody here at all. This is real characters, real story.
Right.
Just coming up with that level was really important to me. While at the same time, I think we're in a very special place in the world of comedy. I'm very just watching The Bear and other things that are going on in the world. These elevated, almost. I don't know, almost new levels of comedy that we're getting to. I mean, body horror has been introduced to Saturday Night Live. We're in a very different space all of a sudden. I love it. I mean, I love it, right? But so I just want to make sure we're equal to the challenge.
William Britton says, every time I watch a Bendis, Taki Somer, or Mike Oeming interview, I kick my brain in the pants and work more on my next piece. Academic-based motivation. Very nice.
William is a local Portlander, and it's always good to hear from him. I'm very happy to hear that, William.
Zach wants to know, will you be diving into these characters' backstories in later volumes, or will we get some of that in this first volume?
No, we're getting it in the first volume. You need to know who these characters are, or you wouldn't be that interested in what they're doing. So, but what we want to do is give you just enough to enjoy the story and not bog you down with like 8 people's backstories, but just enough information about them to go, oh yeah, okay, I get that. And also the backups are kind of like, I'll just tell people what they are. So I love Jacob's Batman Sunday Adventure strips so much that we made the ones Sunday Adventure strips for every issue backup. So the backup is Thrace's origin story or Novus's origin story, all drawn in that Batman animated style that Jacob is doing. Oh, we lost Jacob.
He'll be back.
Anyway, so you're going to get a lot of like information, but I think you can already see from the way the first issue is structured that we took a lot of time making sure we can just get to the good stuff. Like we're just getting to the literally we skip the second act. Like we go the premise right to the third act, right? So we're kind of playing around with is my face this big on your screen?
It is.
It is, because I'm really not that far from my.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not trying to it's weird that my
The
face
big
is so
giant
big.
head. Third Rock reference.
No one needs
Absolutely,
to
man.
see this. Yeah, that's all
Orson,
right.
how are you? Absolutely, man.
Anyway.
Too much, man. So how are Phenomenon and the others going? Oh, here comes Jacob. Jacob's back.
Oh, good. Jacob's back. Well,
There you are, buddy.
Phenomena is been one of the great delights of my life going on. Yeah, you left and 2 seconds later we're on Phenomena. You just
No,
Oh man,
don't worry,
I've been
Jacob. Yeah,
replaced already.
no.
Phenomena is I am deeply loving what's going on with me and Andre right now. We enjoy making book one a great deal. I think you can see it in the work, but now that it's out and people said nice things about it, we're not just empowered by each other, but we're empowered by, oh, we didn't mess up. Let's make more. And it's a very good feeling. And somehow Andre has created what's going on in book two makes book one look like practice. As masterful as that first book
Great.
is, the second book is like, holy shit. So I'm just literally doing everything I can to inspire Andre to just do what he's doing. And it feels more like drawing prompts, like just the things to draw and reasons to draw them. And it's a great experience. And again, it's the full bookstore experience. That's a big difference than, I've been on the superhero hamster wheel for some decades. And now I'm on a different hamster wheel, and it's pretty exciting.
So I was going to ask regarding, before we get to the next question for both of you, how many pages for volume 2 of Phenomena?
I think each one of them is 144, so it's equal. They're all equal. I think that's.
And this is through Abrams, everybody, right?
This is through Abrams, and we'll have one out every year for the next 3 years.
Cool. That's great. All right, Thane has a good question. More broadly, could Brian and Jacob talk about their experiences connecting with comic professionals early in their careers at conventions or whatnot, and the impact it had on them? Any funny stories?
I think Jacob's in the middle of his funny story. I can't tell. This might be it.
Yeah, I don't know. No, the one that's really special for me is back in 2016. I met Klaus Johnson at
love that guy.
North Carolina Comic-Con in Durham. He was there doing a solo panel, and then he had a table, and I mustered up the courage to ask him to look at my portfolio at his table, and I was kind of blown away by the amount of time and effort that he put into going through my portfolio, really in depth, critiquing my work and giving me so much just attention while people are waiting to talk to him or buy his pages or whatever. And he spent a good 15 or 20 minutes looking over my work and really teaching me, basically. I got a free drawing class from Klaus Janson, and he the one thing that he kept saying was, you're going to be fine. He would tell me something to fix, and then he would say, but you're going to be fine. And then within a year of that meeting is when I got published for the first time at Dynamite. So that's a great memory.
That's beautiful.
And I can second on Klaus. I've worked with Klaus now many times over the years, and good Lord, and someone I admired so much growing up, so much. And we worked together on Daredevil and Avengers and Superman, and boy, just delightful top to bottom. Never, every single second.
I'm so with you guys.
Can't believe it.
Say it again, Brian, because we lost your connection there for a second.
Oh, you lost to me. I just said he's the best.
Okay,
never a bad moment.
One of my
everything perfect.
Now again, not being an artist, not being a writer, but one of my favorite moments was, God, it was about 12 years ago now. Brian and I were at Baltimore, and that's funny. Baltimore just happened this weekend, and
supposed to be there.
Walter Simonson walks up and is just beside himself, excited because he's showing us pages that John Paul Leon had drawn for, I think it was Vigilante, right? And he's like, look what he did. Look at all the stuff he did. And it was great. And Brian is beaming. And I'm like, of course, it's John's work. John's stuff was amazing. Yeah. And he walks away. And Brian goes, isn't it great that Walter gets excited about, other people? And it's like, it's like Zeus going, hey, look what my kid did. This is fantastic. And it's like, yeah, man, but you're Zeus. Don't you realize? And it's like, again, without anything but pure respect and excitement of what John was bringing. And it's like, that is so cool. So that's one of my favorite, like watching an artist gush about somebody. And
There were a lot of people who I wanted to be when I grew up, and when I grew up, I didn't want to be them anymore at all. And Walt remains who I still want to be Walt when I grow up. It's amazing, and as great as that day was. I remember he showed us like pages from the Jonas coin,
the Judas coin. Yes, he did.
Judas coin.
Yes,
that's right.
That's right.
Like, shit, this is really good, right? Oh, thank you, and that's sweet. But my every time you talk to someone like Walt, my head is swimming because I met him when I was a child, and he's the reason I'm here. In fact, for those, I see some of the people who have joined us are people who have signed on to our Substack, and Substack is going to get the first look at Fortune and Glory, the next Fortune and Glory comic book I've done with Bill Walco, and in it I do illustrate in great detail some of the meetings I've had with the people that meant the most to me as I was coming up. And the stories that you will get to see is when I met Walt Simonson at age 12, and he fucking changed my life with his kindness and good-natured tutoring at a comic book show. I've told that story here on the show, but it's why I'm here. And also, when I was a young man, I was at a comic book show in Cleveland, and there was a art lesson. You could sign up for an art lesson by Gil Kane. And I was so young, I didn't really know who Gil Kane was, other than I think at the time he was the artist of Sword of the Atom. So I'm like, oh, the Sword of the Atom guy. I'll and then I took the art class, and it was literally my first anatomy class, my first gesture drawing class. The first time I learned any of these very important things was from Gil Kane. And it's literally like finding out like 5 years later that that guy who taught you how to use a camera, that's Sidney Lumet. I'm like, oh shit, and like I eventually found out who Gil Kane was. I went, oh my God. And but my biggest memory, and I know I've told this on the show, but it's in Fortune and Glory, is it was 1982. So Frank Miller's Ronin, the first Ronin now was out, and it was a sensation. It's hard to even describe what a sensation it was in our world. And at that show, it's what everyone was talking about. It was just that and Giffin's Legion. That's all people were talking about. And so at the art class, one of the other students said, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Kane, what do you think of Frank Miller's Ronin?" Right? And he literally steam started flying out of his ears. He was like, "Grr," and he went up to he had a board, and he started drawing on the board, and he goes, "I'll tell you what I think of Frank Miller's Ronin." He goes, and he drew a horse, like a great horse, and he goes, "That's what a horse looks like. That's what I think of Frank Miller's Ronin." And I'm sitting here like I'm a teenager. Frank Miller is God to me, so I can't even hear what he's saying, right? Like it takes me a minute to go, oh, you're jealous of, like, this is a grown man jealous of another grown man. And I didn't even have a dad. So I was like, I've never seen any of this. Right. So it was the first time I'd seen a grown man irrationally jealous of another man's success. And I was completely delighted. I don't know why I saw that and go, where do I sign? How do I get in here? Like I wasn't turned off by this. I went like, ooh. I also I think because he was Jewish and so very Jewish, and I'm Jewish, that it was like very like, oh, you can do this. Like I don't know. There was just like there was a connection, a DNA connection that made me feel like more empowered to make it in. But I don't know. It's just, and I think I even like said in the room, Frank Miller draws great horses. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't agree. So. Anyway.
That's awesome. Comic Work says, my favorite moment is when the best Superman artist ever, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, did DC Nation Zero with Brian, my favorite classic artist with my favorite modern.
Well, how do you think I feel? Yeah, I had walked in the door, and I had a list of like people who I never thought I'd get to work with, because my entire life they've been at DC and I'm at Marvel now for for years and years and years, right? So there's no Jose Luis Garcia Lopez coming in my life. There's no Ryan Sook coming into my life, right? So when I went over there, literally, I think I've said this at the time. Dan DiDio like gifted me Jose Luis Garcia. Like I even said, hey, is he around? And they go, oh, he is retired. And I go, oh, okay, never mind. Like, never mind. Because I remember I did that with John Romita Sr. I'm like, hey, is he busy? And they're like, yeah, he's 90. Leave him alone. And so in this instance, he was up for a short story, and we had a short story. And so my first Superman story is by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who is, one of those just most important people in my life. And I will say, a little short interaction, wasn't a lot, but it was absolutely delightful. He took my effusive compliments with grace and delivered just beautiful work. So it was just amazing. Yeah.
I get it. No, I met him at C2E2 a couple years ago when he was there, and I bought a process page that he had. It looked like they were art from the DC Style Guide, which he did in the early 80s. And just like Neil Adams prior to him, Garcia Lopez was the signature DC artist for everybody.
Yep.
Oh my God, so no, I hear you. Here, Tamir.
Those DC Style Guides should be a coffee table book from Taschen, and I don't understand why they're not.
That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Tamir says, I remember at a panel, Frank Miller said when he tried to break into comics that Neil Adams told him to go back to Vermont and pump gas. That sounds like Neil. That's cool. Tough love with Neil,
Yeah. The last conversation I had, and I knew Neil a little bit, not a lot, but we worked together on a couple of books and had some interactions. And my last interaction with him was him yelling at me about me charging for signatures, which I won't do. And he was very mad at me.
Yeah, you weren't charging for signatures.
No, I won't do it.
Right.
I won't. Right. And that's okay. But everyone do what they got to do. Like I'm just in a place where I don't have to, and I don't want to. I really don't want to. So I try to have a gentle conversation with, but it was really, he was Bendis, come here. And he literally knew that I wasn't charging for the fact that he knew my name, that he knew I wasn't charging for signatures, that he wanted to yell at me for it. All of it was delightful. So
I get it. No,
and I did. It was one of those times, I'm sure you've had this too, where he was yelling at me, not angrily, but he was giving me the grandpa business. And I was just smiling. Like, I was just like, I'm not hearing anything you're saying. I'm just enjoying the moment. And that's not what he was looking for.
Steranko did that to my buddy Doug Klauba, but in a encouraging way. And Doug, sadly, just caught the surface anger and was like, oh, man. I'm like, Doug, he loves you. I'm like, read between the lines. If this guy didn't give a shit, he wouldn't give you the time of day and just give you the paragraph of notes that he just did. I'm like, no, man, you're reading it wrong. This is good. This is what you wanted. So
yeah, I must say, and we have like my Walt story and my John Taliban story from when I was a kid. My career is based on the kindness of my heroes.
Sure.
Like guiding me in as I was figuring out how to do this stuff. Even as a young creator, I've only had a couple of run-ins with people where like, oh, Jesus Christ, what was that? But I have had them, and you've had them too, John. So basically the same people. But but overall, I've gotten to meet most of my heroes, and they were almost uniformly better than I'd hoped. From Stan, having lunches with Stan that I had, those I'm so glad that I did. They really, I'm so glad that I've been able to have these moments with everyone. And every once in a while, I've met someone who was just annoyed by my existence prior to meeting me and let me know about it. But that comes with when you're writing Spider-Man. There's someone else who wants to write Spider-Man that's just annoyed you're existing. So
and it's it's going to be interesting. Honestly, Brian and Jacob, you've got years to come, but I'm always fascinated by, truly, not to age us, but the guys like God, when Len Wein was still around, or talking to Marv Wolfman and stuff, the vets that are still doing it, how many new comics are you reading and whatever? And Marv told me, well, not more than I have to, just to get the flavor of what's going on. It seemed like Len was still a fan up until the end. And
I actually take that pretty seriously. When even among my peer group, I'm like, if you've stopped reading comics, something's wrong, because they've never been better. They're in every regard better. Our whole industry has shifted into a place that no matter what you're looking for, there's something beautiful being made. Not Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, Abrams. Like there's Substack. There's like anywhere you look, there's something really interesting going on. So if you can't find, the beauty in what's going on, then I don't mean to sound like Brian Cox in Adaptation, but if you can't find the beauty in what's going on, then why the fuck do I care about what you're writing?
Calvin Reed of Publishers Weekly is like 10 years older than me and still gets so much joy out of comics. And it's really reassuring. And I know, I mean, God, I checked out mid-90s during the speculation period and when art was more important than writing. But I came back in 99 and I haven't regretted a minute of it in these 20 plus years, because everything's only gotten better.
By the way, everyone goes through waves, and I go through waves where I don't read comics because I don't want them influencing me what I'm doing right this second. Like I make a conscious effort to just do research, and then there's times where I'm just bathing in all the great comics I'm reading. Just read Jason Aaron's new book; it's amazing. Also, I'm in a wonderful place where all of my friends and people I came up with are taking huge swings in their careers, like big swings. Matt's over on the Godzilla show. I'm going this week to see Kelly Sue's Vegas extravaganza. Like there's enormous things going on, and it's and in the world of comics as well, people really trying new stuff, and you want to root for them and be delighted by them, and then I gotta say, there's like another new wave of creators coming up who are just really rolling up their sleeves and about to show us how it's done. Fucking love it. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Zach has a good question for you, Jacob. The Ones is my introduction to your work. He really enjoyed it. What else should he seek out for your back catalog? And I want to specifically say I'm interested in these Batman audio adventure adaptations for comics. I haven't listened to the podcast yet, and I've only seen a little bit of art here and there. So yeah, that sounds like a fun book.
Yeah, the show is fun. I have to admit I haven't listened to the whole series, but I listened to the first couple of episodes when it came out. I think it's really fun. The tone is somewhere in between Batman 66 and Batman Brave and the Bold, that cartoon. So it's kind of a lighter Fist of Justice kind of Batman. So it's fun to get to play in that world. So as far as back catalog, if you can find, because I think there's a 7-issue Batman audio adventure series going on right now that Anthony Marquez is drawing, Dave Stewart's coloring. It looks awesome. But there was before that, there was a one-shot special, and I got to draw a Riddler story in there, which was huge for me. I'm a lifelong Batman fan, so my first job at DC, I got to draw Batman himself, so that was fun. Let's see, Death to the Army of Darkness from Dynamite. That's a 5-issue miniseries, and Kike Diaz, who's the colorist on the Ones, that was the first time that he and I got put together.
Cool.
Nate Cosby, our editor, brought us together on that. So if you want to see me and Kike when we were first getting to know each other, then that's a fun book to read. And
who wrote your Red Sonja book?
That was during the Mark Russell era.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah. And Brian, I was gonna say, Brian and I are already smiling. We love Mark. Mark is Mark is such a great, fresh new voice. And man, I love his Ahoy books just as much as I love the times he gets to work at DC and Marvel. He is just such a smart, funny guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
they actually let me in the Red Sonja, Red, White, and Blood. They let me write a story in there. So I did a 10-page short story of Red Sonja that Giorgio Spalletta drew, and it looks amazing.
Wow.
That's cool. I hope you do more writing, Jacob. I hope that's...
I have something coming out that I'm not allowed to say. It'll be a one-shot from Dynamite in January. But
well, when you're ready, man, you know.
Is it James Bond versus Army of Darkness? Let's try to guess what it is.
No, it's not
Money
that.
Penner. Yeah, I want to read your Money Penny one shot.
Money Penny was the first job that I ever had in comics. So if you want to see me at my most rookie staged. Then track down that issue.
Embrace them. They're there. They're out there.
Yeah,
Like
it exists. Yeah.
My first published work was stuff I was doing in college. I actually broke into college. At the time, I was so relieved and proud that I was able to do so. Now I'm like, who wants to see their college anything in public? As an adult, no. So yeah.
There's a reason why I burned all my old air checks in sports radio and things. So yeah, believe me, I get it, guys. I absolutely get it. So warts and all, all you can see are the flaws. I totally understand. Comic Works wants to know, Brian. He's upset that you haven't convinced David Walker to do a John Stewart book. Come on, man, the world needs that.
I must say, my darling David Walker, and we're teaching right now. We're teaching tomorrow at Portland State. We teach together, and I will say, without spoiling anything, and I'm just right now going, I don't know what's public and what's not, but what David is doing right now is exactly what David should be doing right now. David is working on 2 or 3 very prestigious projects that he literally has been training for his whole life, and I just. Oh, so happy. Again, another friend swinging big and just really trying stuff. And if there was any positive thing that came out of the pandemic, it was that everyone was home alone, looking at the slippery floor underneath them, going, "All right, I better think of something here." And a lot of people, that you're seeing the results of that now, both in publishing and outside of publishing. It's quite wonderful.
No, and truly, as an observer, that has been the most positive thing to come out of the lockdown. Was everybody was left to their own devices. Well, what can I do with the ability and knowledge that I have? At the really, it's like if someone threw like a tomato against the wall and the splat just went in all these different directions. And you got Brubaker doing his graphic novels with Sean Phillips, and you got Substack popping up, and so many people kickstarted and had successful things. It's wonderful. It really, and Panel Syndicate, everything. It really is great. Alex says, Jacob, I'd totally buy James Bond versus Army of Darkness. Just putting it out there.
The
All
thing
right,
is, it might.
Baruchi's gonna call me tomorrow about this.
No, if you pay attention to the Dynamite line, they've had Ash team up and crossover with just about everyone. So James Bond might be next on the list.
Nick, that's a freebie. You can have that one. That's on me.
And Comic Works, and I'm glad, because I was going to say, when we were talking about David Walker, he showed David's Bitter Root to his African American Studies professor. He absolutely loved it. They had a great conversation after he read it. Well, I know, and Brian likely knows, that the 3 of them, Chuck and David and Sanford, the plan pre-pandemic was for them to kind of go on tour with Bitter Root and hit a lot of colleges and really kind of explain the real history behind a lot of their stories and stuff. And then lockdown happened. And
then I got to do a Justice League annual with Sanford. So it worked out great for everybody instead.
I love Sanford. Sanford gonna beat the shit out of all of us. But that said, one of the sweetest guys in comics. I love Sanford. I like a linebacker, but it's like, all right.
I'm so glad, when your friends are in a collaboration, you don't want to like insert yourself into it. They're in the middle of something, right? So I'm a huge fan of David Aja, that's Matt's situation, right? And so when I got a Jessica Jones cover out of him, I was like, yo, great. Like I snuck one in, and on this, I got a Justice League annual in between Bitter Roots out of Sanford, and it's just absolutely stunning. It came out in the middle of the pandemic, so nobody saw it, but it's just gorgeous.
Well, that leads me to a question, Jacob, because Sanford was really kind of stuck in making sure you stick to the particulars of a certain style. He was doing a lot of the young DC stuff early on in his career, and he had to draw like the animated shows. And given your style, have you been approached for those kind of jobs? And is that something that you'd rather not do to continue to pursue your own style? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I've done, or I guess I'm doing a job that's like that right now. So I'm doing variant covers on the new Darkwing Duck launch.
Tad, my man Tad Stones, who created
so that one I'm really trying to hew close to what the cartoon looked like.
Sure.
And then on the first one, I got some notes back from the higher ups at Disney to go even closer particularly on the face. So,
Sure.
and even a project that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but going back to the Moneypenny issue, that was not long after they had just launched the James Bond line at Dynamite, and the Fleming estate was really in love with Jason Masters, who was the original artist when they launched it, and his style and the look
Yes.
for the world. So I actually had to do a tryout page for the book, and even once I got into drawing it, they wanted me to bring my style as close to Jason Masters as I could, which I tried to do, but we're not really, I don't think we're quite in the same vein. So I didn't get to go as probably bold or cartoony on Moneypenny as I may have, if not for those restrictions. So I'm not really opposed to it. It didn't hamper my enjoyment of it really. It's just a different challenge. But I could see, if you were only doing that, I could see getting bogged down in it for sure.
Sure. What's the dog's name?
This is Bowie Bendis.
Hi, Bowie.
There's two of them.
Very cute.
Little tiny pandemic dogs.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah. Also, to the David Walker of it all, David Walker's working on a sequel, not a sequel, but a sister project to the Black Panther Party for 10 Speed Press right now that
Cool.
I'm absolutely delighted with. So I can't wait for that to come out.
Well,
and one of the many things David's working on that are just exactly what he should be doing.
Did 10 Speed write or publish your How to Write Comic Books and everything?
Yeah. 10 Speed published both the Black Panther Party and Words for Pictures. Completely different people published them. It just happened to be. We loved it. That was the case.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, that's great. It's funny, Jacob, because mentioning working on Moneypenny and stuff. At Marvel, I really loved. It was online, and I'm sure it'll be put in comics if it hasn't already. Millie the Spy, where Stephanie Phillips took Millie the model and turned her into a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And I can't remember who her artist was on that, but much like you, it's like this great open cartoony style that really still fit the book and everything, and it was a lot of fun. Okay. William is leaving us.
Go to bed, William.
Thanks for everything that we do. Thank you very much. And Comic Works, why do you feel bad for me? I'm sure once the recording is done, he gets told many great things behind the scenes, and he has to wait longer than anyone else to read the book, The Weight of Power. Yeah, no, it's good. I shoulder the responsibility quite gratefully. By the way, I love when Brian leans in to read the chat because it gets this very like avant-garde French film kind of look where it's just the eyes. It reminds me.
I'm trying to avoid this.
That's all right. I got my specs. Absolutely. No, but it reminds me of, and again, here, old man reference. If you watched I Spy before this episode began, you'd always have Robert Culp's eyes looking underneath at various panels of action that are coming in the episode. And that's, again,
okay.
Again, that's for everybody older than me that's watching. You know how many people that is? Nobody. Nobody's older than me. That's all right. I don't mind. What else? Guys, what have you been?
The other big thing I want to put out there is that we've started our Substack over at Substack. So I've been Substacking for about a year. Was invited to be part of, and it's been talked about here on your podcast, but for people who don't know, last year Nick Spencer kind of curated a space for a lot of comic creators to use the Substack newsletter service to be a comic book or comic book lifestyle delivery service of some sort. And that idea was so charming and delightful to me. And so like, I don't know how to do that. Let's do the thing you don't know how to do. And so I've spent all year working behind the scenes to produce the content that would be our Substack. And we just launched, I guess last week, really, or a week ago or 2 weeks ago, with the actual content. So people hop on. They've already seen the first couple of parts of the first chapter of Creation, which is our next textbook. If you read Words for Pictures, Creation is the next thing. It is literally a textbook about how to create things using the anecdotes of how we created all of our stuff, including the ones to, showing people the messy. It's messy how to create things. It just is. It's a big mess. So a lot of people don't talk about it because it feels weird to talk about messes. So we want to dive in and really get into it. So people who are looking for inspiration about how to create things, this is a good project. Or if you just like messy behind the scenes stories about your favorite nonsense, then we've got that too. So so that
What's
just
the
started.
URL?
Pardon?
What's the URL for
Ryan Michael Bendis at Substack.com or Jinxworld at Substack? Either one of them pops right up. You go to Jinxworld.com, it takes you right to Substack.
Okay.
So that Substack has a bunch of projects in it. Number one is Creation, the textbook that started, and you could either watch it, listen to it, or read it. And then the second project coming is Fortune and Glory, the musical, which is a brand new, very long autobiographical comic about my short time as the writer of Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark, the Broadway musical.
I'm excited about that one.
I'll send you in advance. I was only on the project for 2 weeks, but it's enough material for a 300-page graphic novel.
It's just amazing that was even something that happened.
Yeah, it's so funny because even now, when you tell people about it and it existed, and you can watch clips of it from Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
And there were headlines all over the world about the actors getting hurt and all that stuff. Still, people don't know it's a real thing. It sounds as made up as the Captain America musical that they're really doing in the not really doing, but the ones that they do in the MCU.
Yes,
it sounds completely made up.
Yeah.
So yeah. I wrote and the autobiographicals, and this story is an excuse to unpack like how I got into comics, meeting Walt Simonson, meeting John Tolobin, how Joe found me, like how I ended up there. So I get to tell all the fun anecdotes with Bill drawing it so wonderfully, and so that'll be starting to come out in little chunks in a couple of weeks, and then also in a couple of weeks starts the class that we teach at Portland State that's going to be also on the Substack. So you're going to have a schedule for people who signed up, and you can join us in class, and that class is going to be taught by myself and Taki Soma. Because between the two of us, we pretty much got everything covered as what's going on in comics right now. So those are the three major projects, but there's also, you're going to get stuff from the archives, stuff you haven't even seen, John, like the project we were working on with Howard Stern. Like we have some really interesting like stuff that no one knows about, like real curiosities. So we're going to start dropping those over the, for people who are behind the tier. We have different tiers, so hop on board. It's great. Also, we have a Discord which allows us. We basically brought back the Bendis board. So after years and years and years, we finally found a safe silo in which we can talk amongst ourselves. So there you go.
I appreciate Substack and those things, but it is those community silos that concern me, and certainly. Our new master of Twitter is certainly not making things any.
Not my master.
Yeah, I know. Well, did you bolt? You didn't bolt.
What?
I saw you retweeting. You're not going to bolt, are you, from Twitter?
I ain't going to give him $20 for that blue check that I earned. I earned that check.
I don't blame you, and I get all that, and I completely agree. I personally feel like, no, fuck you. I was here first. I'm not leaving. No, and I hope that most of our friends feel the same way.
Those checks weren't given out for status, they were given out for protection,
for verification that it is the real person. Yes,
pretending to be us.
Yes,
trying to get money out of people.
I so understand. I don't know if you give back the blue check without having to pay. I think it's ridiculous. And again, it just shows how is this the same guy that has all these great innovations that he comes up with, and yet he's not.
I'll send you. There's a video online. It shows you where all the ideas came from.
It's not him.
No,
he's just funding him.
No.
All right.
It's no.
And comic works $8 a month rather than $20 does not change our minds. No, it's
no.
Stupid.
No, not $1. Not $1.
Not $1. Exactly.
Not $1. But I will say here's what drives me nuts. I'll say it here on the podcast. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I'll say it is here. Keep the blue checks.
Yeah.
Sell a platinum check. Right? Just add a gold check.
Yeah.
Gold check for $20 and you get an edit button. Why did I think of this in my studio? How am I smarter than him? Leave the blue checks alone. Sell the, and oh, by the way, all those people complaining will buy the gold. Like, you're not making them. Oh, I have to have a gold check, right? But he blew it. And he's fucking with AOC. Ridiculous.
I love it. Tim Merce calls him Lex Luthor, and of course, I love that meme of the newspaper that it's Lex Luthor buying Twitter, and of course, he's Justin Hammer in Iron Man 2, of course. Yeah.
No, but what's funny is for years he was Tony Stark. That was what he was sold to us.
Thought,
like, yes, he's the real life Tony Stark, and now everyone's like, no, he's the real life Stain.
Yeah,
he's Justin Hammer.
Obadiah Stane, absolutely, man, hilarious. Jesus, yeah. I was just rewatching the first Iron Man movie, and it made me put out when Matt just took over my Iron Man. I did it actually today.
Those are very connected items.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was like the next day. If you watch the Iron Man movie and watch the beginning of Matt's run, it's like, okay, this is. I really felt like that's where the comic book Tony Stark became very much like the Downey Jr. Tony Stark.
Well, and Matt's told this story, but Matt, when he was hired to do that second Iron Man book, they just basically needed an Iron Man #1 for when the movie came out, and then all of a sudden, just by sheer force of Matt's talent, it became the Iron Man book.
Yep.
Like that's how that happened, right? And then all of a sudden, like 2 years later, he's in meetings with Iron Man 2, like they're calling him in, right? And I worked on Iron Man 2 too, but I was in completely different meetings than Matt was in. It's crazy. Yeah.
That is weird. Weird. Jesus.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just came back from the Wakanda premiere. So
I wanted to ask, please.
Yeah, I haven't left my house in 3 years, so I thought I'd report from that. I was very I talked to Kevin about a month ago, and he had told me, I really think you're going to be really proud of Riri Williams. And I was like, oh, I hope so. And I've had this experience a couple of times already as you know, and to think it would happen again would be ridiculous and selfish. And lo and behold, it's amazing. It's great. Like, I won't spoil anything, but the movie is up there with the best of them. And it's like, I put it up there with Dark Knight. Like it's, it's a meal. It's closer to Lawrence of Arabia than it is to Spider-Man. It's an epic movie where all the actors get like a good chunk of time to earn their Oscar nominations and really deliver something unlike the other ones. And I was really taken with it. I can't wait for people to see it and see what they think of it as well. There's gonna be conversations around it, which I'm excited about too. Hopefully good ones,
sure,
like we used to have in the old days. But I got the unique experience of taking my daughters to a big premiere, and we're sitting there. I put this on the newsletter last week, but we're sitting there, and premieres are weird. Like, you see them online, they're strange. They're like, everyone's walking the red carpet and there's cameras and everyone's being weird, but they're selling a movie, and then we're in this room, and I'm with Joe was there. Like, we're in this room, and I got to meet Eve Ewing. I've never met her, so that was cool. We got to share the Riri moment together, and she wrote Riri after me for a long time, and is definitely a huge part of why she's on that screen. And so we're sitting there, and there's all these just famous filmmakers and designers and artists and actors and musicians, and it's like just a Black excellence event. And that's really what I was hoping to show my kids. How many times am I going to have that opportunity to show them something like that? And in walked in Rihanna. And my daughter, like 10 minutes before Rihanna walked in, said, "Oh my God, this is like Ocean's 8. This is like the Met Gala. We should rob something." Like, it was like a funny joke to me, because there were people that dressed up. Like, that's the only time they'd ever seen outfits that elaborate was in Ocean's 8. So that was her reference. And then fucking Rihanna walked in the room like a minute after she said that, and it was crazy to see a room full of famous people. And when she walked in, the place shook. Like, it vibrated. Like, she's so big, and it'd been gone for a while. Like, it was crazy. So it was a really wonderful experience. And then also Riri's named after her. Like And now she's in the like, and then she wrote the song for the movie. Like it's on levels of levels that I could not perceive happening in front of me. And I'm just sitting there going, huh, this is weird. Yeah. And like during the movie, she was singing the song along like live, like 3 rows behind us. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's insane.
It was great.
Did Zach wants to know, did the kids have any, like, did they meet any, like, holy shit celebrities? And
yeah, I posted a little bit of it. Daniel Kaluuya, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was really nice to my kids, and he doesn't know us or anything like that. And well, my daughter really loves him. He couldn't have been nicer. And then I'm blanking on her name, but there's a movie called Little, about a mean woman who becomes a little girl. It's the black woman version of the movie Big, and it's very, very funny. My daughters love this movie. The girl was there, like it's like their favorite movie, and she was there, and they took pictures with her, and it was very cool. So yeah, it was just enough cool shit that they were blown away. And also remember, these are little girls who've pretty much been locked up in their house for 3 years with me.
Yes.
So this was really exciting. Like we got
great.
dressed up and to see stuff like that. But yeah, it was amazing. And Riri was created, because I was very aware that my little tiny baby daughters weren't seeing a lot of this stuff. That was part of the inspiration behind like yeah, let's put some energy out there, and then cut to a decade later and we're all there together, just crazy. So thanks to everyone who because everyone listening to this had something to do with all of that weirdness happening in my life all at once. So I'm not bragging at all. I just want to share it with you because I feel like we got there together. And also I know there's some people who listen to stuff like this and they're like making their comics while they're doing it. We both know there's a lot of people who make comics while they're listening. And I hope that inspires them like, yeah, keep going. Like yeah, cool shit can happen. And I don't know why, and I don't know when, but it can happen. So just go ahead, just go do it. Like, I hope you're hearing inspiration and not bragging is where my heart is.
Can you comment without spoiling about Namor in the movie?
Namor is cool. Namor works. I mean, if you read the reviews, there's tons of reviews out already, so I haven't say anything. But Namor is one of the bigger swings they've taken, and I completely worked. A lot of thought went into it. Yeah,
that's great.
Not obvious choices, like really, really interesting ideas.
Jacob, I know Brian hasn't seen Black Adam yet. Have you seen it?
I've not seen it.
No, I have not made it out.
Well, you got the kids, so I get it. Yeah.
How old your babies are babies, right?
Still. Yeah, I was going to ask. How
they. So I have triplets, 2 girls and a boy.
Wow.
They just turned 1 in September. So we're right now in the stage of they're starting to grab onto stuff and think about walking. And we keep their playroom has a door, and then on the other side we've had this gate. They recently have broken the gate, so now we just have babies unleashed.
Well, I'll just say to you, because I know on top of that you're elbow deep in poop. I just as a father of now 2 teenagers, a preteen, and a 10-year-old, it gets better. It does. My daughter called me from college to talk about, they'd just seen Fight Club for the first time and wanted to talk about Fight Club and the 90s. And you're just years away from having just wonderful conversations with your kids. Right. And you can't believe that that how much it changes.
I mean, even now they're like the funniest things on the earth to me. They're so just sweet and hilarious. And my son might be, I'm not trying to indoctrinate them, but I got those, it's like my first Marvel books or something like that. And my son genuinely loves the Spider-Man one. It gets to a page where like Gwen Stacy's on one side and Mary Jane's on the other side. He always touches Mary Jane. So he's already decided which camp he's in.
Well, but isn't it amazing? Because I've seen this, and I've actually talked about it in the show, like little babies being so attracted to Spider-Man, like that.
Yeah, there's something about it. Yeah,
but we know as designers, it's a weird design. It shouldn't be so attractive and it's spiders, right? And yet it is. I've seen it myself. I've seen kids cry for Spider-Man who couldn't possibly know who Peter Parker is or Miles Morales. They just see the thing, they go, "Oh, I'm a Spider-Man." Amazing.
But it is the design, because I even remember as a very, like, maybe 2 years old, that was my first exposure to Spider-Man, and it wasn't even the old Bashki 67 cartoon. It was like some like kind of glitter art picture of Spider-Man, and I loved it. And again, it was probably because of those colors and that shape, because it isn't a spider. It is, I mean, yeah, I know he's Spider-Man, but it's a guy in a costume, and it's something about that design. I get it. That's hilarious. Comic Quirk says babies love Spider-Man because Spider-Man is red as hell.
It is, but I'm just talking about the aesthetic. It's just of all the things, they see it and they scream for it. Every generation for years and years and years. I think back to the year I got Ultimate Spider-Man, and Spider-Man consumed in my head, and I was at the grocery store and I heard some little baby go, "Spider-Man!" And I looked because it was in my head. I thought that was the voice in my head, and I looked, it was the baby reaching for a Spider-Man plushie, and it started this thought process of why does this child who's never read or seen anything want it so much? Yeah, it's fascinating. It works aesthetically. So anyway, I'm excited. I hope I didn't spoil anything. I'm just excited to share that Wakanda is great, and Ironheart is completely winning, and I'm so amazed that I get to experience this lovely experience again.
All right, Zach and I agree that he loved Black Adam. Fun, comic accurate, great comic book movie. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I gave it 3 out of 4. I think.
Yeah, I'll get to it. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
No, I was surprised. I saw a picture where Dr. Fate has his helmet off, and they had Pierce Brosnan was actually in a super suit. I thought surely there was no way, because you see those other shots where he's just like in regular clothes, and then the rest of the time he's got the helmet on. I thought there was no way we'd see Pierce Brosnan in a super suit, but I guess we do.
I guess I read articles that he was inspired by Cumberbatch's choice to do Doctor Strange, and that kind of is like, well, if it's good enough for him, I guess I'll do it. And no, he was terrific. He really, he's the heart and soul of the movie. He really is.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, a lifelong Dr. Fate fan. I mean, I always used to tell Walter and Marty Pascal how much I loved their early 70s first issue specials, just a one shot. But my God, I read and reread that comic book a million times. And then Marty continued to do the backup of Dr. Fate and Flash back in the 70s and stuff. No, it's one of my favorite things Marty ever did. And
if anyone hasn't, check out the Walt Simonson Dr. Fate stuff. I know we're all Simonson acolytes here, but that's particularly great.
And I'm excited for Tom King. Danger Street is taking all the first issue special characters and putting them in a miniseries. And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. And it's like the Green Team and the Sandman of the 70s that Joe Simon created. It's interesting. I think it's
I didn't get it off the ground, but I wanted to do one issue special. I wanted to bring first issue special back in the Wonder Comics. That was like, because we had like a half a dozen half ideas that weren't like series ready, but maybe we could like one issue we could do, and like we were thinking about it, but we couldn't. It was adding an anthology on top of everything else. It was just too much. So, but yeah, I agree.
Comic Quirk says Pierce is still his Bond. Jacob drawing a Bronson Bond book. What do you? Honestly, Jacob, I don't know how you feel about it, but I kind of like that the comic book Bond is its own thing, as the comic strip Bond, which was created before Dr. No, was its own thing. And God, it's kind of ironic that Connery looks so much like John McCluskey's original Bond designs. Have you looked at those Daily Mail strips at all in terms of ideas? I love
those. I did when I was working on it. And I was a big fan of or still am, like Alex Raymond, Rip Kirby.
Oh, God, yes.
Al Williamson, Agent
Speaking my language, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, I refer to that stuff all the time. The way that nobody could draw suits and shadows like those guys could back then. So I refer to that stuff all the time.
Somni and I bond over old adventure. Yeah, there you go, Brian. Hold on. I'm going to zoom in. Open it up again.
Oh, yeah, zoom in more. That's what I need.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. No, but there you go, man. No, it is. Yeah. This stuff is so gorgeous, and the stories are so good. And yeah, man, no, Titan. Thank God Titan has been reprinting them over the years. But I'm with you. Samini and I just bond over how much we love Alex Raymond and Al Williamson, Secret Agent Corrigan, and Rip Kirby, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant stuff. And I can, now that you say that, I can see the way you compose a panel. Maybe there's inspiration there from those guys.
Yeah, well, and we talked about Brian, how he was introduced to me through those strips, the Batman one-page strips that I was putting out on Twitter and everything. And I've really found there, I don't know what it is about that format, but I'm really drawn to it. I don't know what else I'll get. I guess you'll actually see some of that in the ones without giving too much away. We're playing with the horizontal strip format a little bit. But there's something about it that just speaks to me.
Yeah, it works totally.
I'm laughing at Comic Works. He wants to know how we get me to
write. His
tequila's
kicking in. I think he said earlier he was having some tequila.
Well, yeah. How do we get me to write a Star Trek book? Sure, I'd love.
Hey, that's an interesting question.
I love that. I've talked to JK about trying to get some ideas to the right people and stuff. I don't know, man. I got a lot of other things I should write before I write my 10-page Star Trek.
Yes, your book of interviews.
Which cast would you write about?
Well, I have a Klingon idea that I would love to have with Kor, Koloth, and Kang talking about the TOS era. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've got a few ideas here and there. I always love bringing up my favorite is how they should have ended Voyager. And they should have brought Voyager back mid-season and then had kind of a Starfleet inquiry about all the violations that Janeway did to the Prime Directive and other things to frame the back 10. And also just, I wanted that, okay, Voyager's home. All right, welcome home. You're under arrest. You're under arrest. We're going to take the Borg and dissect her and find out what makes her tick and have this like, oh my God, what the hell's going to happen? Yeah. And also to find out like Harry Kim and his girlfriend and Janeway and the man she left behind, Mark, like all these like interesting relationships they had prior to going on the mission. And it's like, and by the way, good Lord, and I've been talking about, in fact, earlier today, I talked with Frank, my buddy Franco, and Mitch Halleck from Terrificon. We do a weekly kind of sci-fi weekend review. Those are the IDW comic that just debuted with Cisco and an all-star crew.
I just read that today.
Oh my God. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a fun book.
Great.
Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly are the writers. They get it. It's that simple. They get what makes Star Trek tick. And Chris Cantwell is going to do the sequel book that they're planting the seeds in Jackson and Colin's series, and it comes out in February. Star Trek Defiant, and that's Worf with an all-star crew. And I'm like, great, sounds great. You know, good Lord, I'm a big fan, and I'll be talking to Chris on Friday. I'm also excited for Chris rebooting Max Headroom.
I don't know him. Tell him I'm a big fan.
I will.
He's been on a lot of books. He's been on a lot of books I used to write, and I really enjoy. Him. Like he's taken some swings. I really, really appreciate it. And
his Doctor Doom miniseries and his Iron Man run have been amazing. His creator-owned stuff is really great, and every time I talk to him, he's surrounded by Star Trek Migos, so I know I'm talking to the right guy, so yeah. I mean, again, don't get me started. I as I tell everyone, I think way too much about Star Trek every day.
I don't know how you and Elisa don't have a podcast together. I don't know.
I'm so, and let Elisa know that this season Lower Decks to me only got better, and I can say honestly I enjoyed this season finally because I really had problems with
Well, she loves Discovery at a very high level. Like it's become her safe space.
I'm kind of with John on Discovery. I couldn't get into that one.
Thank you, Jacob. And Elisa knows I love her. Absolutely. And I would love to, next time we are face to face, we'll carve out a few minutes to go back and forth in a very friendly way. I don't hate the people that hate Discovery. I'm glad that they enjoy it. Yeah. Like I said,
I don't believe you. I think you hate them. I think in your heart.
I don't want Elisa to think I hate her. I love Elisa.
It's irrational, but it's there, and you don't know what to do with it. And that's okay. We'll work it out. It's a process.
Jackson, in my interview with Jackson, he said, Jackson said, what I think is missing from Discovery is the respect for the military protocol. And I'm like, that's a big part of it. That to me, that's a big part of it. That everyone seems to be able to speak their mind. And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, this is not a committee. I'm the captain. I make decisions. You follow my orders. Shut up. And there was way too much of Burnham speaking her mind when she was a junior officer. Well, now she's the captain, so she gets to do what she wants. So
that's awesome.
Whatever. But anyway,
you're hilarious. You're hilarious.
What? Hey, all right. How about another show, Apple TV, For All Mankind?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, and I want to. I know. It's just there's a lot of TV, and you know what?
It's a good
She-Hulk was way better than I thought it was.
I completely agree with you. I loved She-Hulk.
Absolutely loved it. The Bear on FX, unbelievable. The Old Man on FX, unbelievable.
Yeah, did you ever finish The Old Man, Brian?
I have one more episode left. I'm saving it like a little treat for myself. For after
I do that. I do that with streaming shows all the time. Absolutely, man. The Bear.
I did this on Deadwood too. It's a weird thing I do. If I truly love it, I'll save the last piece, like for when I need it spiritually, like when I need some like story guidance. Like and I did that with the entire third season of Deadwood, and then when I finally saw. Like when they put the movie out, they put out like a reunion movie of Deadwood.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's it. They're finishing the story. And I rewatched the whole thing. It was one of the most satisfying experiences I've ever had with story in my life. I highly recommend it. All 3 seasons of Deadwood and the final movie. You'll see something really special. So, but it was worth it. I waited 10 years. I held it for 10 years. Yeah.
I did that with Netflix Daredevil. I loved it so much I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, so, I think that like goes in my head. If I never watch the last episode, it's never over.
Right.
I never have to worry
still episodes to watch when I got time to do it. Absolutely. Doctor Who fans, gentlemen?
No.
Say what?
Never
Doctor
watched
Who?
It.
That's Elisa's Doctor Who too.
All right.
I know we're having a big week in the Doctor Who universe. I can hear it coming out of her phone, but
I agree with Zach. He loved Only Murders in the Building so much.
Oh my God.
Read Steve Martin's autobiography that we've recommended a while back. Completely agree. Both incredible. Yeah, what a great show.
I'm so glad. AA number 1, Only Murders is part of this this newfound genre of murder comedies, all of which are excellent. Including After Party and Murderville, and they're all. I adore this mashup of like hardcore crime and genuinely good comedy. So I love it so much, and I thought the second season of Only Murders was man, they did it again. Like it's great when there's a great first season, but when they like, oh no, we know what we were doing and we can do it better. That's the best, absolute best. Because sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go, no, you had one good season. That was all you had in you. But this one, they have it.
William wants to know if you guys have picked up David Milch's memoir.
Yeah. Yes. Again, that's a Matt. Matt is a huge David Milch fan who's made, and by so much so he's made me a big David Milch fan over the years. Not that it's a hard thing to get to, but sure. Yeah, I have that. I have Michael Mann's Heat sequel to read. I have so many things I'm dying to read. Yeah, he too is in a book, and everyone says it's great. I can't wait.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Mm-hmm.
God, hey, my old man bladder is kicking in. Can I let you guys talk for a minute amongst yourselves?
No, we can wrap up. Let's call it a night.
It's
2 a.m. He's got babies going to be up in 2 hours.
It's 3 a.m. Poor Jacob's time.
3 a.m. here.
I know, Jacob. Seriously, man, thank you, and shame on Brian
welcome.
For making you stay up so late. Let's both.
No, I didn't do the math in my head until I saw your face and went, "Oh, sure. What time is it?"
No worries.
Hey, Jacob, in front of everybody, I will be embarrassing to say this was a wonderful experience, and I'm so glad today went the way it went, and I can't wait to see you at a convention so we can experience this together.
Do you guys have plans of when you might be together?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
You were so close recently. You came to Atlanta, so you're about 4 hours away. But
I was so close. Yeah, that was Dragon Con was fun. I'm really glad I did that. That was a great experience. So
well, again, ones is go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say the ones is out now from Dark Horse. Check it out. Very funny, great idea, great story, beautifully drawn, beautifully written, and as always, man. No, it's a pleasure talking to you guys. And Jacob, really great to meet you. And Brian, we did it again, and that's good.
Yay, we did it again.
Yeah, who the hell knew? So everybody take care. And
All right.
go ahead, Ryan. What do you got?
No, I'm just going to say Jinx World on Substack, darkhorse.com, jinxworld.com, John Go P. Thank you for everything, brother. I love you.
I love you guys too. Everybody take care. And
All right.
tomorrow I'm going to talk to Don Kramer, speaking of Black Adam, a
Ooh,
great JSA artist and great Batman artist as well. And
you said Don Kramer, right?
Don Kramer.
Yeah, we were at Caliber together.
I was going to say he wanted me to make sure that I said hello from him to you, and he said it's been forever, but he always wishes you the best.
Everyone from Caliber is in some kind of like improv group that we're bonded forever.
You're war buddies. That's how I am with my college radio friends. I say the same thing. I'm like, it almost. I don't mean to say it in a disrespectful way to people who really did serve in the military, but that's how I feel about my college radio friends. It's like, no, man, we went through this thing together, and that's like a very special bond. Absolutely, man. So I get it. I absolutely.
All right, go Pete. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for signing up. Thank you for buying the book. It means the world to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I did buy Tarantino's book too. Thanks, Zach. Another goddamn thing I have to read. All right.
There you go.
Talk to you guys later.
See you guys later.